Welcome back to Filthy Rags Garage. Thank you for coming by the channel. Thank you for watching the episode, the video. If you like what you see, you want to see more, hit that like, subscribe button. I really appreciate it. It helps keep this machine going. But today, we're going to get Alberta running.
Filthy Rags Garage.
Probably see her behind me. If you don't know, or if you're new, Alberta is my 79 F100, bought brand new from a local dealership here in my town by my grandfather. But today's episode, we are going to get her running, and we are going to do a victory lap around my neighborhood. Now that may be a couple of days for me. I don't have the best free time schedule, or I don't have the best schedule to be able to work on her non-stop for hours at a time. But this video, for you guys, it'll be in the next 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. We will be doing a victory lap. So to do that, we're going to check the Valvetrain on the driver's side. I'm hearing an odd noise, kind of a ticking, maybe a metal tapping noise. So we're going to investigate that. I suspect there may be a vacuum leak somewhere. So once we get the Valvetrain inspected and that put back together, if we need to take anything off, we will be checking for vacuum leaks around the carburetor, around the intake, anything like that where normal vacuum leaks, or when we normally expect vacuum leaks to happen. We shall check that. And then also the passenger side rear wheel cylinder needs to be replaced. Not familiar with that, we'll get into that more there. But so those are the three big things I know we need to do right now. Check the Valvetrain, check for vacuum leaks, and then fix the brakes on the rear. Okay, so we got the valve cover off, and everything looked fine. It looks good, you know, just not bad oil or water accumulated anywhere here on the head, so that's a good sign. There's no rust anywhere. That's a good sign. But what I did notice, and I may have recorded this on my cell phone, but I got excited that I found an issue and I wanted to fix it. That halfway through, which is where I'm at now, I remember to turn the camera on. This push rod was loose. With the rocker on like this one is, I could reach back and grab the push rod and move it. This one's solid, it's not moving. But this one I could grab and try and wiggle it, and you could hear it tick, 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 tick. It would just tick, 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 tick. Every time I tried to move it, you could hear it tick. It moved. So I took the rocker off to inspect this push rod, and the push rod is straight. I mean, calibrated eyeball, that looks pretty darn straight to me. So I then suspected the rocker, and when I put the rocker back on and torqued the bolt to 25 foot-pounds, which is what it should be, the rocker then moved. Kind of like this one does, but it was moving quite a bit more. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It was much louder than that, much more movement than that. These are all solid and not moving. Like, I mean, I suspect they shouldn't move, except for in the plane that they are designed to. So I went and bought a new rocker. This is the new one. The metal looks much more new, like it hasn't been used. This is the old rocker, and everything appeared okay at first, and when I took this apart, I immediately noticed some wear marks in here. I don't know if you guys can see that. Try and get that in there. See the shiny metal in there? That's not supposed to be like that. I wasn't 100% sure if it was supposed to be like that or not. And then on the back side of this piece, again, you have the same kind of wear marks. In this piece you can see this groove line, and that's where the oil is supposed to be able to feed through to keep all of this lubricated. So these parts were wearing on each other. And I confirmed that when I bought this new one and took this apart, and it does not have any of these wear marks. Again, it does have this groove line here. This is where the oil is supposed to be fed through to keep these moving parts lubricated, but this does not have any of those wear marks. But to compare them, just to make sure we have the right part, you see same dimensions, Top's the same length, you know, same width. They don't fit inside each other, but they're the same width. Everything looks the same to the calibrated eyeball. And the only thing I have to reuse is this little oil splash shield. So we're going to get that placed on. And again, this is 25 foot-pounds. Do not go over 25 foot-pounds. Ask me how I know. But we'll get all that put on, put the valve cover back on, tighten that thing down, get the spark plugs back on. Actually, no, we'll put all that on. We'll put the rocker on, tighten it down, and then we might recheck the compression on that cylinder and see if it changes. Because remember, previously, that's the cylinder that had a slightly lower compression than every other cylinder. So I forgot to mention, when we go to put this on, I'm going to be using some engine assembly lube on anything that has metal contacting itself. It will help protect those parts until the oil pump can build up pressure and get oil up to these new parts that we're just now putting on. So this is day 2 for me. It's been about a week since I last worked on the truck. I had to quit that day, the clip you just saw. I quit to have dinner with the family, and next chance I got to work on the truck, or Alberta, the temperature was really cold. For me, it was really cold. Born and raised in Florida, 40-degree weather is not my cup of tea. I don't want to be outside working in that. So we had some pretty cold weather recently. Kept getting into the 40s and low 50s. You know, the high for the day was low 50s. And actually right now it's still 58, 59 degrees, something around there. But I'm going to try and give it a shot and work on this anyway. So we got that rocker replaced. So now I'm going to take all the spark plugs out. We're going to recheck the compression on that one cylinder that was low, or lower than the rest. I'm also going to go ahead and change this fuel filter. It's been sitting here for a while, so there's no fuel in it, but it still has this orange tinge to it, like it's had some bad gas run through it. And the filter doesn't look like it's in the best of shape either. So we're going to change that, put a new one into those, check the compression, change the fuel filter, and then we're going to try and fire it up and check for leaks with our air leak in a can sprayer liquid, whatever you want to call this stuff. Alright, so it's been about an hour so far. I've been kind of fighting with this. I got my daily driver over here with jumper cables, trying to get the battery going, but it's just not enough. This battery over here is so dead, the jumper cables aren't able to give enough to get it started. While I was letting the battery charge, I got the fuel filter replaced with this new one put on, and it's still see-through, so I'll be able to see if the filter's working or if it's clogged or not. Something else I discovered is this battery connector is broken. It's very loose. You can kind of see where it's been tightened down too much and just kind of ripping through this lead connector here. And it's not very long. It just runs from the battery to the starter solenoid. But I think I'm going to go ahead and replace that. This moved pretty freely on the battery. So that's something else I got to get. I think I'm going to go rent a compression gauge. Mine doesn't want to fit on the spark plug hole very well. Didn't really find anything else out today, but I got the fuel filter replaced, discovered a bad battery cable, and that my battery's dead. Probably beyond recharging. But we're going to have to end that there for today. Well, hopefully not today, just for right now. I don't have a battery charger, I don't have a jump box, I don't have anything to put on the battery to kind of get over this issue of not enough electrical power. We'll come back in the next couple of days, or I'll come back in the next couple of days for you guys to see a few seconds, and we'll get back at it. Alright guys, so it's the next day, and typical Florida weather. It's now 65 degrees. I'm not wearing a jacket. This feels amazing. So I went ahead, went by the local parts store, went to my O'Reilly's, and rented a new legitimate compression tester. But this is going to work better than what I currently have. This is just an adapter that goes on the end of the compression hose, but it has this hex head on the top. So I'm going to use this with my ratchet to put this into the spark plug hole and then screw the hose into that end. Cylinder 6. Remember in the previous video I numbered them incorrectly. Like I said, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So cylinder, I believe it was 6, over here was low. It was about half of what everything else was. I replaced the positive battery cable. Alright, let's jump into it and we'll see what kind of numbers we get. Alright, so we got the compression gauge hooked up. I'm going to use my trusty starting tool. I'm going to have my cameraman pointing at the compression gauge while I try and start it off the starter solenoid. I got all the spark plugs out. Only thing plugged is the compression gauge. Oh, Alright, pardon the noise. The battery is very dead on this. I'm going to have to use my daily hooked up. So it's going to be loud because my daily driver is running. But we're just going to show you the numbers on the compression gauge. That was a great number, by the way. 120, way more than what we got last time. Much more consistent with the other cylinders that we got last time. See maybe if we can bring that number up just a little bit more. I'm going to hold the throttle open on the carburetor and then turn it over some more because that may be a slight restriction, trying to get the air through those closed butterflies, and see if maybe we get to 130 like we did on everything else. Alright, so that's the same number. Whether the butterflies were open or closed, we still got 120. This is a vast improvement over 75. So now I'm just thinking maybe the cylinders need some more seat time. They probably need to actually run. I think I'll reconnect all the put the spark plugs back in, reconnect all the spark plug wires, and maybe we'll turn the ignition on and see if we can actually get it to fire up, maybe run a little bit, and then we can start to maybe troubleshoot the carburetor, troubleshoot, the bad idle. The battery on the GoPro died. Threw it on the charger, and I took the compression tool back to the parts store. So back on the daily driver, charging the battery. I tried to crank it over a few times. I don't know if that made it on, but we now got fuel in the filter. All the spark plugs are back in, the wires are back up. So we're going to give it a shot, see if it fires up, and maybe check the timing. I think that might have been messed with before I let it sit. And then we'll see how it all goes from there. Seems like priming. Whew, that's really good. It seems like it's probably timing. I'm not having any luck with it starting up right now, and it kind of should be starting up right now. So we're just going to put this on, check the timing, and see where that's at. At about 12 degrees right now. Oh. That looks like a giant vacuum leak. Maybe that's part of the problem. Oh yeah, that's completely dry rotted. I think I discovered the problem. I had this on one of the large, that's a large hole, large vacuum port, slightly smaller than my pinky finger. And this piece is completely dry rotted and cracked open. I wasn't watching the vacuum being crap. Last year we received the help. Jeez. Goodness gracious. And there we go. Okay guys, so I'm sitting here editing the video and I realized I didn't film myself explaining that we had rebuilt the carburetor. And that's what's happening right now at this point, or the timeline of what was going on. My neighbor came over to help. We troubleshot a few things, verified timing, verified we had fuel, verified we had spark. So we figured it was a carburetor. So I took the carburetor off, ran to the store, got a rebuild kit at a local parts store, and rebuilt the carburetor that afternoon. The next day, I got it put on, and that's where we're going to pick up. I have the carburetor rebuilt now. I just finished getting it installed, physically put onto the engine, but I haven't tried firing it up, haven't primed it, haven't done any of that stuff yet. That's what we're going to do now. But during the rebuild, I'm going to talk to you guys about what I found. Okay, so I talked about back here, we found a leak or a drip coming off the back of the carburetor. It's kind of running off this linkage back here. I'm not sure where it was coming from. Kind of why we decided to do the rebuild. Where that vacuum connects to the vacuum that's actually going through the carburetor has a cork gasket that goes from this body through the main body of the carburetor into this area. That cork gasket was just covered in nasty gunk. It looked like bad fuel had gone through it and probably destroyed the cork gasket itself, and that's where the leak was coming from. So I'm hoping that's where it came from. But every gasket that came with the carburetor, we replaced. Oh, I even replaced the new fuel needles, front and back. The kit came with it, so I figured why not. Basically everything that was in the kit, I used. There was a gasket in there that matched what I had. I used it, I replaced it. So I got as much new stuff on this carburetor as possible right now. Like I said, I'm gonna prime it now, I'm gonna pour some gas down there. I'm gonna put you guys on the tripod, you guys can watch this, and fingers crossed, I hope that was the only issue. Yay! So I forgot to mention, the battery is still dead on this thing, so my daily driver is going to be running, so that may be a little noisy. I'm not sure how much sound we're going to pick up from that, but that is going to be running to keep the battery going, because we're going to have to do a lot of starting. That's a little faster than I thought. Like they were getting fuel up in the filter. Let me check the float level. I got fuel coming out of the accelerator pump, or coming out of the accelerator nozzle. That's the plus. Almost right.
We mean you didn't get them?
I was going to buy a new spark plug.
Good.
And I forgot.
I think I would try that, honestly.
Okay, so that didn't work out too well. My neighbor came over, heard I was having trouble again, wanted to help out. I cut all that out. He's not going to be in the video, doesn't want to be in the video. What I did find, we took the carburetor off. It seemed like there was a small fuel leak around the front fuel bowl. Couldn't exactly figure out where it was coming from, so we took the carburetor off to try and figure that out. It's a dual plane intake, and on the passenger side intake, there was about a 1/4 inch of fuel sitting in those runners. So I used paper towels, soaked all that out. I took the plugs out and turned the engine over a bunch of times to let the pistons try and push all that fuel out. And we took the spark plugs out and realized they were fouled. They were shot. They were done. So I ran to the store, got new plugs. Couldn't exactly find the leak on the carburetor. We kind of tightened everything that we thought might be causing it. I double-checked. Everything has a gasket that should have a gasket. And as far as the flooding inside the intake, I'm thinking that might have been the float level wasn't quite right. So we're going to double-check that. So we got the new plugs in now. The wires are on. Carburetor's back on. It's got to put the fuel line back on. And we're going to give this another shot. All right, here we go. Had a fuel leak on the carburetor I've been fighting with for 2 days, trying to figure out where it's coming from, what's causing it. I've taken it apart 3 or 4 times in the last 2 days, trying to figure out what's going on. I filed the main body, filed the base plate. They didn't turn out to be exactly flat, so I thought that was the cause. Put it back together, new gaskets again. My kit had extra gaskets, so I was able to put a new gasket on there, thinking maybe I destroyed the gasket with the warped base plate or warped main body. Put it back on, turn the truck over a few times, see fuel coming through the filter, and it starts leaking again. Couldn't figure it out. It was driving me crazy for 2 days. And I was talking to a friend at work today about it, and I told him I replaced everything in the carburetor, or everything that came in the rebuild kit I used in the carburetor. New gaskets, the jets I reused. Those did not come in the kit. The needles, those were new. I said the power valve was new, and he didn't know what a power valve was, so I went to go Google it. I pulled it up a picture. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I forgot to put the gasket on the power valve. So all the fuel was leaking into that chambered area behind the power valve, and then the fuel was just running through all those little orifices that are supposed to be pulling vacuum, but instead it was just leaking fuel out. That's why I was getting fuel coming out of the vacuum tube that goes to the distributor for the vacuum advance. I feel so dumb. But I'm going to get this off in about 5 minutes, put this gasket on, reinstall everything, and I'm not going to have any more fuel leaks. And then I can actually start tuning this carburetor. Alright guys, so here we are now. I replaced the gasket, or I shouldn't say replace because I didn't. I put one on. I forgot. So I got the gasket on the power valve, and I'm going to try and get it started now. And I've got everything reconnected, fuel lines reconnected, carburetor put back together with the gasket, and my neighbor's pressure washing his driveway / house. I don't know how much longer he's going to be doing that. I can't wait. Can't wait for him to finish to do this. I have a date with Alberta to go do something, but that'll be next video. You guys have to hang out for that. So I'm going to get you guys on this tripod over here, and we're going to watch starting her up and running properly this time. Okay, I got my trusty screwdriver out. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I also have my vacuum gauge up here hanging on a magnet hook. And I do have the vacuum advance that's attached to the distributor. That's the only vacuum attachments or ports I have connected right now. Everything else is blocked off with a plug or a tap, just to eliminate any possible leaks or issues. Now we have to finally tune the carburetor, and then I'll start reattaching all the accessories. Cross your fingers, pray for me. That was probably just fuel left over in the carburetor, in the intake. Let's try it again. That the valve seals on here have gone bad, just dry rotted and gotten hard. As far as right now, that's going to have to wait. Don't forget your gasket. Alright, there we are. There we are. We're going to do our first trip around the neighborhood. Wow, my goodness, that is shaky. Maybe it'll smooth out when I get the higher up again. Alright, we're going to head around the neighborhood. A big old smile on the face. I don't know why, but the camera just cut off in the middle of the drive. Might have been all the vibrations or the shaking. It definitely wasn't the battery. I checked the battery was fine. It was on and was waiting for me to hit record again. But I did make it around the neighborhood. If you don't believe me, I'll catch you in the next video. But that's what we got for today. We did a lot. We found the broken rocker or worn out rocker, replaced that, gave it a tune-up, a bunch of ignition parts, new spark plugs, rebuilt the carburetor more times than I want to admit, and then I drove it down the street, got it around the neighborhood. So I had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for watching the video. Thanks for hanging out this long. Definitely give it a thumbs up if you liked it. If you like this kind of content, if you like seeing old rusty things move when you think they wouldn't move, hit subscribe. Hang out. We're going to be, it's my long-term project. We're going to be working on Alberta for a long time, getting her, not quite to show quality, but definitely a lot better looking. My wife is shaking. Yes, we're going to get it to show car quality. I don't know if we have the budget and time for that.
We got this, baby.
But yeah, we got more videos on Alberta coming up. You guys, I've also done stuff on, I don't know if you guys can hear that, that's my neighbor cutting her grass. But I'll cut it short. We're down there. Thanks for hanging out and watching. Appreciate it. Love you guys. God bless.
Filthy Rags Garage.
There's a bee attacking my cameraman. Oh, you guys want to see? Hey, get away from here. What are you doing? Silly bee, get out of here. That almost got your ear, didn't it?